Quality cloud gaming experience available today, and that's this new 5K streaming at 120 frames per second mode that will be available with the Blackwell server upgrade. And so in this case, we're showing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I think we chose this game specifically because it does have all of those great Blackwell GPU features inside the game. So you're going to get pad tracing and full ray tracing, DLSS4 with multi-frame generation as well as HDR. Another great thing about this title is, again, it's also available on Steam, but it's also available on Xbox PC Game Pass. So we saw tremendous uptake of this game when we launched it months ago, and we invite you to come in, play, see the highest quality, cloud streaming available today. Again, 5K, 120 frames per second, really impressive, very cool. I think moving on, we also have a side-by-side demo here of two televisions. And we're showcasing here our new cinematic quality streaming mode. The TV on the left is showcasing what the GeForce NOW service looks like today. This is, if you look at these very detailed scenes, you're going to start to see that our encoder tends to struggle a little bit on when there's very, very detailed scenes. There's things like fog, really thick leaves or vegetation. So a lot of the feedback we got from users that in some games, especially really detailed games like Black Myth Wukong, you start to see this banding, you start to see these encoder artifacts, you start to see this pixelation. The cinematic quality streaming mode essentially has a number of technologies and features that we've implemented to run on top of Blackwell to improve a lot of those issues you see. So if you see the TV on your right, that is with CQS on. So this is the collection of those features, and when you start to look at things like the trees, the fog in the background, you shouldn't see any of those pixelation or those image encoding quality issues. So again, we'll give you guys plenty of time to kind of come in here. I actually think it shows best when you kind of strafe and look at the demo side by side to really see the image quality differences. And we're happy to explain what each of these features are. 444 chroma subsampling, AV1 with RPR, HUD sharpening filters. We can kind of talk about each of these and where you should be looking if that's something you guys are interested in. All right, we're going to shift over now to another side-by-side television demo. And this time when we look at the television on the right, we're looking at a 2025 LG TV, but this is not running GeForce NOW. This is just running natively on the highest performing console we could find. In this case was the PlayStation Pro, available today around 800 euros. And this is kind of the best experience we think you can get on a console today. This is the Cyberpunk 2077 with all the settings maxed out and increased. And what you're seeing on this side is that same television that's connected to that console, except it's not connected to any device. What we did instead was download the GeForce NOW app, and we're streaming that same game on the PC version with all of the Blackwell features enabled. So you're getting a 4K, 120 frames per second, HDR, every single Blackwell feature enabled on this side. And hopefully when you compare them side by side, not only are you going to see a visual quality difference, but you're going to see a responsiveness and latency difference. Because again, by us being able to render at those high frame rates, you're going to get a lower latency experience, hopefully a more responsive experience. And we really do believe that maybe your next console doesn't have to be one that you buy, maybe it's one that you just stream from the cloud. So talking on the theme of latency, we're going to kind of shift over now to these two monitors. And I think that there's a perception, we believe, in cloud gaming that you cannot play competitive shooters or FPS games because of the latency requirements of cloud gaming. And I think what we're trying to really showcase in these two demos is that we really think that's a misconception. When we look at some of the most popular games that are played on GeForce NOW, they're actually primarily competitive shooters. And when we look at the way they tend to play, they tend to actually play on these new, competitive esports style monitors. And so when we have these new low latency streaming modes, in this case on the left we're showing 1080p at 360 frames per second, streaming from our Blackwell servers. I think what you're going to do in this demo is you could kind of look around, but what we ended up doing instead is adding this LDAP monitor right around this monitor, and what you're going to do is come here, there's a little button right here. And pressing that button is going to give you essentially the end-to-end latency number from when that actual, in this case a button press is mimicking a mouse click, and also what it's doing, it does a little photon on the other side, and it's picking up when it actually sees the interaction on the screen. So this is giving you not only what your network latency would be, but this is the end-to-end latency from the moment you click something to when you see the change happening on screen. And I think what you're seeing here is you're seeing on GeForce NOW, you're seeing certainly below 30 milliseconds of end-to-end latency. In most cases, when you start to read some of these, depending on how the network changes in here, you're going to see values as low as 15 to 17 milliseconds. And that's on par with, absolutely, with high-end gaming PC at home. And so we've really done a lot of things to really improve that latency and overall experience of streaming in general. So we really invite you to, number one, just kind of check that out and see, so you can see actually what the actual latency number is. But also come here and just experience a live demo of, in this case, this is 1440p at 240 FPS, a very, very common, monitor resolution and refresh rate for most gamers now. And again, this is also streaming on GeForce Now, and you're still getting that same low latency experience. But again, played on GeForce Now, and I really want you to challenge your perception of whether you can tell not only the visual differences, but the responsiveness differences between playing in the cloud versus playing locally. I think shifting to this next wall, we have 2 more additional demos, and this is kind of showcasing all of our different, I would say, these new generations of gaming handhelds that are available. So in this case, we have the Steam Deck here. Earlier this year, we announced the native Linux client for the Steam Deck, which brought GeForce Now to the Steam Deck. We saw instantly a 10x usage of Steam Deck usage on GeForce Now. We're really, really happy with the experience and the number of players playing. But what we've added with the Blackwell release is also the ability to stream at 90 FPS on Steam Deck, which matches the native resolution of or refresh rate of the display. So now we think this is the ultimate companion for your Steam Deck. Not only do you get up to 4,000 games on GeForce Now on this device, you get it at maximum fidelity, full frame rates, as well as 2x battery life versus playing them locally in the Steam Deck. So we invite you to come in here, try this, play around with it, and also see one of the most common use cases we see with the Steam Deck was that people take it to play on the go, but they also bring it home and they connect it to their TV and connect it to a dock. And what you're seeing on that other side is a Steam Deck-like device. What it's called is the Lenovo Legion Go S, and it's actually running the Steam OS. So it's a gaming handheld that's not exactly the Steam Deck, but behaves almost exactly like a Steam Deck in the sense that it is the Steam OS running. And one of the great things about that display is it has a native refresh rate of 120 frames per second on the local display, but it also has the processing power to basically dock it and connect it to a television and get a 4K 120 frames per second experience on a television. So in this case, we're looking at Borderlands 4, a title that we're very excited to release on GeForce Now, that's on release now. So we invite you to just grab this controller, which is paired with that Lenovo Legion Go, and get an experience of playing Borderlands 4, multi-frame generation enabled, a lot of great RTX related features in that as well. So go ahead and play that and let us know your thoughts on that. And then we're going to shift to this demo right against this wall. And this is the install to play feature that Joe probably referenced in the presentation earlier. And what we're really excited about this particular feature is that right now we have about 2,000 games on GeForce Now, and every one of those games we optimize to keep it up to date. We obviously update the drivers, we update the patching, we also do things to optimize things like the streaming resolution that you select and pick, the in-game settings, the streaming settings, so it's a very great out-of-the-box experience for anyone playing on GeForce Now. The challenge between that is that we might not act as quickly on adding games or adding games that are much smaller when it comes to overall install base and number of users. So with this install to play feature, we've essentially had the ability to double the number of games that we support on GeForce Now, specifically by asking users to come in and again, look at your library. In this case, we're going to look at maybe all of the install to play games. In this case, we can see now we have over 4,000 games supported on GeForce Now, of which 2,000 of them plus are install to play. And the biggest difference in install to play versus ready to play is the user will just have to come into the app, decide that they own or want or are interested in playing this game. And instead of playing the game, what they're going to do is they're going to see the option to install the game. And what it would do is it's going to open up a Steam overlay, which is very similar to what you would see on an existing PC, where you were just prompted to install the game and play it before it's on GeForce Now, or before you're streaming on GeForce Now. You're basically going to install that game locally on Steam. We'd give you about 100 gigabytes of storage available on this particular session to play and install games. But if you want to obviously have more games that are available to click to launch and play, we basically are offering persistent storage that's available to purchase at increments of like 200 gigabytes. So if you have, let's say, hundreds of install to play games that you want to play like ready to play games, you can essentially purchase that storage, click to play, and get into your gaming experience that way. So happy for you guys to show you what that experience looks like. You can kind of come in here, find that game that you're interested in playing. You can either play ones that you've already installed, or you can find games and install them, add them to your storage, and get it play. So very exciting feature. The big takeaway from this is that now we can take, again, double the Steam library that we support on GeForce Now, as well as that quicker. If Steam games, if publishers show interest in wanting to stream their game on GeForce Now, we can obviously add their game much quicker to the service if we're not already doing so. I think we're going to shift over to Candace now. She's going to give a great demo between NVIDIA, Discord, and Epic.
Yeah. Okay, so on the right we have friend A, on the left is friend B. So friend A is playing Fortnite on a bare metal PC, offline PC. Friend A here, sorry, I forget which one was friend A and friend B. But anyway, the second friend sees their friend is playing Fortnite in Discord. And now what we're showcasing here, what we're demoing here is this try game cloud button. And if you click it, it's actually spinning up a GeForce Now session in the back end. So this is streaming now from Frankfurt. And all you have to do is connect your Epic Games account, which I've already pre-done for this demo. And within seconds, you're actually playing Fortnite in Discord. So the whole point here is to actually showcase the ability to try a game without downloads, without installs, without patching. You see a friend playing a game, and within seconds you can actually join them there and load in. And we think that this is going to be great for game discovery. We think that this is going to be fantastic for social gaming. And it's streaming with 1440p 16 frames per second, which is the equivalent of our performance tier. So effectively what we are showcasing is a free trial of the performance tier GeForce Now without actually needing to create a GeForce account, GeForce Now account or log in. All you need is an Epic Games account and see a friend playing and drop in. And we invite you to try and to test out the performance yourself. And here we have the offline bare metal PC one for comparison. Again. Okay, that's it for me. On to the racing wheel.
Yeah, I think the last demo we have over there in the corner is, we have found that racing games as a genre are incredibly popular on GeForce Now, starting with titles like Forza Horizon 5. In this case, we're showing the Crew Motorfest. And so we've listened to our community, and they've gotten a lot of feedback that they'd like see support for racing wheels and pedals. So starting with the Blackwell server update, we're going to be adding some select Logitech models that will basically work right out of the box. So we get all the haptic feedback, button mounting, just plug and play to play racing games with some new programming not available options. So we looked at adding more models from Logitech in the coming months, as well as hopefully more manufacturers of racing games in the future. So you guys, that game should already be locked and loaded. You should sit down and play if you guys want to play. That's pretty much it for an overview of the demos. Again, you guys have about 30 minutes now to go